Thank you for joining me. I hope that this will be a really helpful little mini course for you. I want you to realise that this is helping us to take a small, gentle pause to be able to help our children feel calmer, sleep better and cope with their big feelings. Parenting today is really busy and many children as well as adults and parents struggle to switch off, especially at bedtime. So I'm going to be offering some tips and hints that will hopefully help to move things along swiftly for you. What makes me qualified to do this? I'm a reflexologist, qualified with a level 3. I'm a member of the Association of Reflexologists in the UK. I have a background working with babies and children, especially of baby age, where we were looking at infant feeding. And I have a whole lot of other skills and things that I've done in the past that I draw into this. I also have 2 boys of my own, aged 8 and 6, so I apply all the techniques that I use here with them. Most nights, not every night, I've got to be realistic here. And these are just where I'm sharing what works for us. I realise that might not work for you, but hopefully some of the hints and tips will be useful, and certainly the reflexology element to it, your superpower, will help. I'm a small business owner, and so whilst I'm happy to have you on here, I would really love that this is kept unique. Anything that you learn on here, if you do share, please credit and tag me if you're doing it online. If you wish to share anything further with your friends, let me know and I can send you something out. Thank you. Does your bedtime look? Mine can sometimes look chaotic, and that's the truth. Sometimes it just is. There are lots of questions, lots of anxieties sometimes. It can be really drawn out. Go here, do this, come back. Wow, what's going on? All of this can be going on. And that can be quite stressful for them as well as for you. And it can be the result of busy days, high stimulation during the day, or maybe some gaming time, online screening time, not screaming time, hopefully. With children, there's always a pressure to perform when they're alongside peers, whether it's in a school setting or even at the park. There's always a bit of a comparison between them, and that can sometimes sit with them. There's lots of big feelings in these little bodies, lots of hormones and developing brains, developing bodies, lots of things out of their control that can make their bodies sometimes feel a little bit more alien to what they might want. They can be overwhelmed, as can we, having to try and help them. Their nervous system, as a result, can go into a stress response. Children are on go mode all of the time. This is their flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. Now, the first two, flight and fright, most people are quite familiar with. It means to run away or to fight, quite literally. Freeze is where a child might become unresponsive, not as in responsive unconscious, but they might not respond, they'll be ignoring you. You might find yourself having to repeat your requests and questions in order to do the next job. Fawn is where they're trying to please. They might be quite apologetic in what they're doing when they realise that they haven't done what you've asked the first time. So it might be sort of overly apologetic and trying to then please. In adults, for example, fawn is most often now seen as a type of people pleasing. And if we've learnt that inherently as children, that's how it can then play out as adults, which is quite interesting. So what can we do? What is the power of touch, the superpower? Reflexologists can work magic, yes, but actually parental touch has the most strongest and powerful connection of all. It's a literal physical link between you and your children, whom they have ultimate love for, and the touch and connection is something that symbolises that very uniquely between you. Touch can increase relaxation and calm very quickly. It can then in turn better our sleep and better the quality of sleep. So children might still wake up if they are nighttime wakers, but they might actually be going a little bit longer between, or they might get more quality sleep which hopefully would mean that you would get more quality sleep. It helps them to regulate those emotions, all those big feelings that are going around. It can help to bring those into a regulated state. So by coming out of the stress response, our body's then able to respond to what we need. So they might suddenly feel hungry. They might suddenly feel thirsty because their body's gone, oh, it's safe. Oh my God, I'm really hungry. That's quite a normal reaction. Hopefully at bedtime, they'll actually be sleepy enough to then go into sleep. They wouldn't actually need food. But if they do suddenly become hungry, it might be a genuine hunger if they've been in stress response and nervous system response up until that point. So maybe a piece of toast might help. When the body is relaxed, it's able to ease from the everyday stresses and tensions, or aches and tensions. Now, our children are growing at phenomenal rates. This is really important because we can quite easily forget, like I forget all the time, how much it takes for them to grow. A good night's sleep really helps them, but if they're getting a poor quality night's sleep where they're not getting into deep sleep, it can affect them. They might also be being woken up with growing pains, for example. And actually they need that calm, deep sleep to be able to enter growing space, as it were, and ease those bodies, because those bodies are busy. They're running, they're playing, they're rolling, they're climbing, they're doing so much. Bedtime is the only time they're still-ish. Even then, many kids will be quite fidgety in sleep, and being able to fully relax allows them that recovery time. Focus and well-being. So when we are stressed, we can go, I need to focus on all of these things. Actually, that's not helpful most of the time. And for children, that might look like them hotspotting from one thing to another. That might also be their personality or their characteristic. But sometimes if it's out of the ordinary, it might be that they're in a stress response and that actually they could do with a bit of calm and relaxation just to help them focus on what they need. In turn, that feeds their well-being, because it goes back to them going, oh, I'm suddenly hungry. Oh, that is called interoception. They're able to feel what their body needs from input or output, because it also affects toileting. So when their interoception is balanced, it can help with going to the toilet. It can help with them understanding when they're thirsty, when they're hungry, and actually that plays a lot into sleep as well. So if they're drinking enough in the day, then they're not going to want to quickly drink a whole load of water at night, which might mean they're then night wetting or going to the toilet. So drinking early on in the day is really important. And actually the amount they're drinking is also really important, and it's a lot more than I realised. This is, what's this? 710, that's a random amount, 710 mils. So they would need 2 and a bit of these, depending on the age. Obviously it varies quite a lot between a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old, but it's more than we think. Immune support. This is mind-blowing, actually, that touch, the power of touch, be it foot reflexology or massage, like a body massage. When researched, they found that these 2 techniques increase the white blood cell count, so boosting that immune system. Isn't that amazing? And so needed. How many viruses, bugs, lurgies come home from kids these days? If we can boost their immune system, let's keep those at bay. Let's keep them happy and healthy and ready to do what they need to do in the day, whether it's at school, whether it's home education, or whether it's just playing. Let's keep them happy and healthy and able to do that so that they can focus on playing and not have to focus on getting better. Now, the reason that these happen as a result of reflexology is due to 2 hormones. The first one being oxytocin. Now, for those of us who have had children, we might be aware of that hormone because it actually kind of got us pregnant in the first place, helped us to conceive, it helped us to give birth. It's the hormone of love, labour and lactation. It helps us to feed babies as well by releasing milk. Because it's such a key hormone, it's intrinsic in calm in the body. One of the reasons oxytocin is really important in feeding is exactly the same as why it works in calming the body down, is that it switches off cortisol. When cortisol is switched off, endorphins can come up, and that's the happy hormone. So these two hormones are really important, and when we touch, it's like the magic happens. These are powerhouse hormones. It really boosts things between a parent or caregiver and their child, and amazing things can happen. So why the feet? Why? Here's my baby foot. I have two. Now, even on these teeny tiny little feet, there are 200,000 nerve endings on this foot and 200,000 nerve endings on this foot. That's a phenomenal amount of nerve endings, which makes it a complete sensory amazingness when these are activated. As a complementary therapy, it's been around for thousands of years. Typically, it's been shown from sort of Asia and the East, but going back as far as the Egyptians, there are hieroglyphics and images depicting pharaohs having their feet touched, and implied upon that is that they were having reflexology. I'm not going to comment any further on that because that's quite how far in can we really know about that? No one was there in the Egyptian times. We can only impress on what we see in the images. However, a lot of research has been done into the effect of reflexology. It's a very non-invasive and like a wondrously amazing relaxation for the feet, from the feet for the whole body. Because we use really gentle pressure when doing it, it's not a harmful therapy at all. It's not quite the same as acupuncture. We're not using needles, but it's the same sort of outcomes in terms of looking at whole being rather than individual issues. When looking at how we do it with children, we adapt it really carefully and specifically to their needs, and balancing what is unbalanced with them, but focusing very much on what that current issue is at the time. Mostly it encourages that body to slow down, and when the body slows down, it can breathe and relax. So it is a gentle support. It's calming and nurturing and can absolutely be part of an amazing well-being bedtime routine. What it isn't, it is not a medical treatment. It's not a cure. It's not a diagnosis tool, and it's not a replacement for healthcare. So just to recap, reflexology does not force the body to relax. It invites it to relax. It enables the body to access calm, which is just amazing. I often feel like I'm floating when I receive it. Sometimes when I give it too, because it has the same benefits sometimes when I'm giving it, that I get really relaxed. So it's really enjoying to be able to offer that to other people, but also to feel those positives too. It allows primarily the body to come out of that fight, flight, freeze and fawn state, the nervous system being really stressed, so that it can just rest. The world is such a busy place. For these outcomes to be reported from research that's been done with parents on multiple studies is actually really fascinating. So parents have found that their children have had reduced anxiety and improved sleep, improved emotional and attention regulation, as well as positive effects in children with additional needs such as autism and ADHD. There have in fact now been studies, more studies into this in particular, and there are courses that are taught. There's a specialist in particular who she teaches other teachers at schools how to do some really easy techniques on children who are struggling at school with their well-being, in some hand reflexology, which I think is just amazing. What an ability to be able to do that in a place where a child might be feeling uncertain, to be able to go in and offer them that direct calm, obviously with their permission and their parents' permission. But that's amazing. I am going to say factor in 10 to 15 minutes before bedtime routine. This might make some of you cringe. I'm sorry, I don't mean it, but actually it might be something that you can just involve as part of your routine already, not adding to it, and sort of restructuring your routine a bit. Or it might be that you decide to bring the bedtime a little bit earlier, or add an extra 10 to 15 at the end. Go with what works for you and your family. You know, I want you to sit down with your child or children and actually say, like, what works for them? Ask them, is everything okay in your bedroom? Is it dark enough? Is it light enough? Is it warm enough? One of my children gets really, really hot, and so making sure the bedroom is cool enough is quite a struggle, because the other one gets too cold and they share. So, you know, finding the right balance, things like that. Have that chat with them. You know, it might be that actually their bedding is really irritating them, or there is something that comes into their mind every time they go to bed, but they've never found the moment to tell you. Take 10 now after this, maybe when they're awake, because I realise this might now be when they're asleep, and just ask them, what's it like for bedtime? What would make you feel a bit more comfortable at bedtime? If the bedroom is too light, would they like an eye mask? If it's too dark, would they like a little light? You can get these really fantastic little amber and red lights that you just pop on and pop off, so that if they needed it, if they woke up, for instance, they could just tap it on rather than having it on the whole time. That gives them that bit of independence. They're in control of it. Do they need a picture board of what they need to do at bedtime? And by picture board, I just mean a strip of paper with images. You know, have a shower, I'm trying to think, have a shower, brush your teeth, put your pajamas on, go to the toilet, feet, bed. Something really simple like that. I've got one to share with you at the end. It's like a little poster, just as an example of what I'm sort of talking about here. You can take it, you can cut it up, to adapt what you need. There are loads online as well, and if you use Twinkle have some available for free, in that you can just cut up and use what ones you want, and then just laminate it and stick it somewhere that's easy for them to see. It's a really good prompt as well if you're trying to get them a bit more independent. Is there something in their room that creates a scary shadow? It can sound bonkers, but sometimes it might be that a whole lightway comes under that door and it makes a scary shadow. And if they're not quite asleep, that might then play on their mind, and so the next night that might be something that they don't want. Have a little convo. It's surprising how long we go on going, what is going on? And we don't actually ask. I'm more than guilty of this. So back onto the bedding. Is the bedding okay? Does the pillow need a wash? Does it smell a bit funky? Because I always forget to wash those pillows. I have got way too much washing on to remember to do that as well. So little things like that. Are their pajamas fitting? Are they a bit too tight around the waist, or are they then a bit uncomfortable? Is their room a mess? A messy room does create a messy mind. How often is it that we as parents walk into a room and go, oh my goodness? That same effect can still go on in the children, even though they are the little darlings that have made that mess. And they might well know where everything is, but the visual sight of it can be very disruptive. It might be you literally just have a box and everything gets swamped up into a box and dealt with another time, and that's fine. But having that floor space, creating a clear vision, can make a big difference. And it's true for our room. How's your bedroom looking? Mine, tip. Because our bedrooms get left till last. I am not a nutritionist, but if you do feel that your child might be missing some vitamins, magnesium, for example, is sold to us a lot now online as being the cure for bedtime. Ask a nutritionist to do a test. Or ask a nutritionist what you think. Have a look at their diet. Are they getting magnesium in other ways? You know, there's lots of ways to do it dietary. If I notice that my kids have not been having a balanced diet lately, which, you know, we're on a chicken nugget bender at the moment, so magnesium's not getting there, I'll use a magnesium cream, and I'll show it at the end. And this is more as a top up to their nutrition. It may have an effect on their sleep as well. It may not. I don't use it consistently enough to be able to say, but a lot of people do know, and there is research showing that magnesium is good for sleep and calm at bedtime, as well as if you're looking for assistance, for example, with ADHD and autism, it can also be of benefit. But do your own research and find a nutritionist to find you the right type. There's lots of different types of magnesium. The wrong one can make the toileting a bit of an issue. Just a note on the supplements as well that are advertised everywhere, those little gummies. They are about 90% sugar, which if you're hoping for a better bedtime, 90% sugar before bedtime is probably not going to help. Just something to do your research on. Find one that's perhaps a bit less sugar, if that is something you're looking for. You know, there are ways of doing it. There are, as I mentioned, a magnesium cream. The one I found doesn't make my boys itch. I think it's a little bit gentler, even more so than the child versions of the typical one that is out there. But as I've said, I don't use it consistently enough to say if it actually helps with their sleep. I just find it nice to use. One other thing I do use, if they have got colds or really bunged up and sniffly, I'll use this eucalyptus salve. I realise this is possibly backwards, I do apologise. I'll use this on their feet at bedtime because it's amazing. It smells amazing for starters because it's eucalyptus. So it's really good for opening your airways. Even if you've got a cold, use it on their feet because it prevents you from getting worse and might prevent them from getting it. But yeah, applying it onto their toes is a great tip. So let's have a little focus on what happens actually before you get into the bed, before you touch their feet, whilst they're getting ready for bed. So that process of getting into bed. Now, I've done it as a ladder because in my house we go upstairs to bed. I realise not everyone lives in a 2-story house, so adapt as you need. But hopefully this might help to bring in the calm in different ways. Now, a lot of those questions are coming out right when we want to say goodnight. This enables you to put them in at other times to reduce that. So whilst they're getting ready for bed, ask them about their day. Whilst they're walking up the stairs, whilst they're in the bath, perhaps not in the shower. And again, it depends how old they are. Might not want you in the bathroom. Whilst they're getting their PJs on, or if they're brushing their hair. I realise I've left a lot of hair out because my boys don't need hair brushing and hair drying. So again, add these bits in. Or it might be if they need a little bit of playtime before actually going to bed. One of mine has to have 5 to 10 minutes of just decompressing play in his room. Normally making it messy before we have to tidy it again. But he needs that. And so I'll just chat to him whilst he's doing that. Find the moment that works for you in your family and ask them what was their high, what was their low, and what was their buffalo. Now, this is a great tip that one of my friends taught me. She does it at dinner time, so it can be done then, and then it could be reiterated again. Use different words at bedtime. Just see if different things come out. And the reason it's high, so you're asking them, what was the best thing that happened today? What was your favourite thing? Then we're going to go to a low. What made you sad? What made you unhappy? Did something make you feel unhappy today? But ending on a funny note. So what was your buffalo? What made you giggle? What made you laugh? What did so-and-so do today that always makes you laugh? That sort of thing. Draw bits of information out now and you might find that they go on to tell you more. We're going to be moving on to the feet in just a moment. But before we do, feel free to practice it before, either on yourself partner or on the kids in the daytime, so that there's no pressure, you're not doing it for the first time at bedtime, and they sort of know what to expect. It might be that it's whilst they've come home from school or they're watching TV and they just need chill time to sit. Perfect time. They're already still, calm, to try it out on them and see what reception you get from it. If they're already in a place where they're half relaxing, you're more likely to get a good response, and so then it can be transformed at night time. What you don't want to be doing is forcing it and to a point where they're like, oh, I just want to move, I don't want my feet done right now, because that won't create a happy association with it. Whenever you do choose to do it, always ask their permission first, because this is still really important about teaching consent and permission. Don't stop them talking through it. They probably will want to talk. What are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you pressing? Absolutely let them know, because they're just as intrigued. And it might be you get all the random stuff from the day at that point, and that is okay. But essentially, when you're doing it in bed, you want to be comfy and cozy. You want them snuggled up in bed, ready for sleep. So head on a pillow, not propped up. Ideally, you might want them with their feet elevated, so popping a pillow, fold the duvet underneath is what I sometimes do, or find a ginormous teddy, stick it under their feet, have their feet a little bit separated like that, so that you can reach them when you're sitting and they're not on the bed. If they don't want them elevated, go with what works and what you can work with. Remember, it's about give and take as well, and if they're wanting it but they're not letting you do something, maybe say, well, can we try it, because I can't do it like this. But obviously that's, you know how your family works, so I won't add in much else there. Do you need creams? No, not necessarily. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends on many things. Some of them is my energy level and whether I can get up again to go and get the cream, because I normally forget them. Or if they want them, they might not want creams. One of mine does, one of mine doesn't. Yeah, it's up to you. Music. Now, I put music on at bedtime just because it signals a switch for them in the mood. I found a sleep playlist on Apple Music. Well, actually, I found it on Spotify first, and then I found it again on Apple because I changed. And I found one that I really liked, that I could listen to and they can listen to. So it's a really mutual nice one. I can link, I think, to the playlist at the end. And I put that on when they're going upstairs, if I remember. And it sort of just transitions us through the evening, and it's a really nice calming introduction to bedtime. Once they're actually in bed, I make sure it's music without words, because you tend to sing along otherwise, and that can keep you awake, or them awake. So music without words, or white noise. If you go back to those baby days, we used to use white noise or sometimes parents would use white noise to reduce the outside noise, but also to stop it feeling scary. Silence in a dark space is scary. Even to children, it will still feel a bit scary at times. So actually having a little bit of noise there can really help. And it might be that you choose to turn it off once they're asleep, or you might choose to just run it all night if that helps keep, try it. I sometimes, if I can, I have it going all night, because if they wake up, they're like, oh, the music stopped. So yeah. Low lighting. Now, in their bedroom, try and keep low lighting. Ideally avoiding blue light as much, or screen, like a phone screen or tablet screen, 2 hours before bed. I realise that is highly impossible in these days, because we all have phones, and so therefore they look at them, we look at them, it's a given. But just keeping it mindful that, you want to avoid the screen usage and the bright white lights at bedtime. Now, most of us have really bright white bathroom lights, so I've found some little amber lights that you just tap on, tap off, and I can move them around to wherever I want them. So if they're having a bath, for example, I might put those in the bathroom rather than the big white light over the head. And it just helps the brain switch into bedtime, sleep time, right? We want those hormones switching. In the actual bedroom, again, I use those little pop-up lights sometimes, or they've got little bed lights that clip onto their bed so they can read. And they've got a warm glow mode. I use that. Or sometimes I'll just use my phone if I need it to do their feet, and I'll turn off all the other lights. I've put where possible less talking. It depends on your child. You might have a chatty one. I do. But what you might find is that once you start doing the feet, the chatter lessons, and what you want to sort of avoid is asking more questions at this point, and just nodding and agreeing, showing that you're listening, but not inviting more questions from them. We don't want to tell them that it's time to be quiet, or it's time to stop talking, or it's, you know, save your questions for tomorrow because no one will remember them. And I'm really guilty of doing that myself, because I'm just like, please go to sleep. But it's being conscious that actually that's sort of telling them that we don't have time for them in that moment. And we do, we absolutely do. But we're also really tired. So, okay, that's nice. Do you have any other questions? No? Okay, well, we are going to go to sleep now. Hopefully. And when we touch the feet, we are going super soft and gentle. We're not going to, shouldn't hear the noise. We're going super soft and gentle. Imagine your fingers are feathers. Wait, I forgot a few things. If any of the following are present, we do not do feet. So if they have had injections or vaccinations within the last 48 hours, this is more so vaccinations. If they have daily injections, it's fine, so long as they've had them for about a week first, so you know what symptoms are usual for them if they have symptoms after, like, a insulin pens exam, for example. So if they have a fever, they have listlessness, profuse sweating, breathlessness, rashes, fitting, stiff neck, or they are severely agitated, you cannot calm them down, call 999. This is not the time for feet. This is the time for a healthcare professional to see to you. If at any point your child says, no, I do not want this, nope, get off, you stop. I know our children could be quite rude. So that's their cue. They don't want it, and that's fine. We won't take offence. It's just that at the moment they need a chill out from us. Give it time and come back to it, either later on within your bedtime routine or another day. Before we start on the feet, as I mentioned earlier, consent is really important. We'll always ask, do you want your feet done? Are you happy for me to do your feet tonight? Obviously, if they say yes, we go ahead. So the first sort of move that we're going to do is a hold, and we call it a heel hold. So I'm just going to imagine that the rest of their leg is here, and we're just going to squeeze the calf muscle really nice and gently, coming down towards the heel, and then stop. It might be you can do this on both feet at the same time, or you do one and then you do the other. That's fine. Go slow. So squeeze, 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 hold. We're just feeling for the tension in those calf muscles. And what we're going to do then is slide our thumbs onto their feet. I realise my feet are quite small. But we're looking for an area just under the ball pad. Okay, and right in the middle there. And you might sometimes see a little X sort of marked on there. And we're going to just pop our fingers on there and hold. We're going to ask our little one to take in a big breath, fill up their belly. Hold on to that breath. And then make an O shape with their mouth and blow out the air really slowly. We're going to do those 3 times. And as they breathe in, we're going to gently push onto the foot. And then as they breathe out, we'll release our thumbs slowly. Try and match their breathing as well. And just take a note of how big a breath they're doing. If they only want to do one, only do one. That's absolutely fine. I call it being at home, and we are going to sweep our fingers over the top of the foot to create one side of the roof and down the other side to create the other side of the roof. And we're going to do it a few times on each foot, really slowly and really calmly, and just watch for what they do. They might find it really ticklish, they might not know what it is you're doing, so you can just say, we're just doing a nice home move. Doesn't matter which order you do the feet, you might be able to do both in one go with what works. So the move after this is called the PPH, and we're going to do the pituitary, pineal and hypothalamus. Now on our toes we have toe prints just like we have fingerprints, and we're going to find on the big toe where it comes to a point. My toe here doesn't, but I'm just going to imagine I can see where the point is there, and I'm just going to put my finger very gently on it. We're just going to stay like this for between 10 and 30 seconds. You don't have to count. It's whenever you feel like disconnecting, you do. You might feel a bit of heat, fuzzing and buzzing, or some fizzing and tingling, and that's fine. They might feel this too. These are just different parts of the brain, and they all have really important functions. So the pituitary is a major gland that sends out the hormones that make our body function. Our little ones are really busy growing all the time, but night is when the body grows most. And so we're setting it up right now. I'm just doing my other foot for an optimal night. When we start this, we've already kick-started the oxytocin through touch, but the pituitary gland is actually the gland responsible for secreting oxytocin throughout the body. So sometimes they can feel a rush of tingles when this one's activated and when we're holding. Ask them, what do they feel? Can they feel anything? And if they can't feel anything, that's fine. The second gland we're going to hold is the pineal, and that's on the side of the toe. Come into focus. There. So it's going to tap our finger onto the side. I'm going to do it with that one actually, it's a bit easier. The pineal gland is important for sleep because this is the one that secretes melatonin that turns us into sleep mode. So when we have serotonin coming through, that's daylight, that's when we have seen an activated light. What we want at bedtime is melatonin, so that's where the red light is really good because it tells our body that it's time for sleep. And again, holding for 10 to 30 seconds, just feeling when it's right to move on. The last one is the hypothalamus, and that's right on the top. So sometimes I use my thumb because it's a bit of a bigger space to cover. The hypothalamus is the creator of hormones. So all those hormones I've just mentioned and many more it creates. Stay a little longer on this one because it's really busy in our kids. If your child is still chatting, this is often the point when they stop because we're doing lots of brain activity right now. Or they might just tail off or start talking a bit of mumble jumble. That's normal. That's just them relaxing. And again, 10 to 30 on that, or a bit longer if you feel like holding. So after that, we move on to the brain. Now the brain covers both of our feet, both of our toes, sorry. We're going to start on one side, or if you can do both at the same time, you can do. You would normally have them like this. So you could be doing both feet, and we're just going to, I'll show you with my finger here, create little circles on the big toe only. And we're moving down that toe, really slowly, down to the little indent here, where the toe joint is. The reason being, so we're doing the brain, and then the bit that comes down the brain stem. We'll do those on both feet, or you, as I said, you can do them at the same time. This one can induce a bit of stillness with them because they're they're getting calm now, hopefully. If you've still got a wriggler, don't worry. The spine stroke can actually make them wriggle a bit more. So on a foot, the spine is on the midline of the 2 feet. If I turn them that way, you've got the arch that comes up here and down. This is normally more shaped than my baby foot here, but it is actually the shape of the spine in the body. And so when we stroke this really slowly and gently, it's like having a little massage down the spine. Each child has their own ticklish level. Work with them for what is comfortable. I know with one of my children, I can go really, really soft and he loves it like that. The other one, he's like, no, too soft, too ticklish. Work on it and see what they're happy with. You go down and then back up. And again, you can do this a few times, especially if they're sort of beginning to fidget a bit. Do it until they're still again, because they're getting into their position. They're stretching their back a little bit and they're getting their comfiness. Keep going with it. If they pull their feet away and they're like, no, I'm done, just say, okay, let's try a different move. Move on to the next one, which is the colon sweep. So as we know, the colon is quite an important organ in our body. It's one of the largest, and it is obviously there to move along the waist in our bodies towards the rectum to then be voided. This is a really useful move to have because many children will have toileting issues at some point. So normally with children, doesn't matter too much which order you're doing things in terms of feet. The colon, it is important to get it in the right order, as we want to make sure that we're not doing things the wrong way around and reversing things. So we're going to start with their right foot. Their right foot, which is on our left side. I still find it confusing. Opposites. So typically you're going to be sitting opposite them, lying down, and so their right foot will be by your left shoulder, or your left arm rather. We're going to find the heel, which is here, and we're going to come to the outer edge of the heel. We're going to just go up to the midline and then come across, just moving our thumb over like a L sort of shape. Up a little bit and along. If I put my other foot there, you can see how it will happen. So we put the upper foot and along, and then we go along. You can see where I'm going with this. Down. But now we're going to trace the outline of the heel to the middle. So remember, if this is the spine, we can imagine that the rectum is here, in between the toe, in between the feet, sorry. So we're coming across on this foot to the outer edge, down to the heel, follow that heel around and up. And you can do this as many times as you want. Don't want to do it too much, not right before bed. Maybe 2 or 3 times. Depends how effective they are at emptying their bowels. You might feel different things on different days depending on where they are at with their toileting. And that's okay, that's normal. If they are struggling a bit more, add this move into the daytime a few times. Say, I can see that you're struggling a bit. You're sitting down now. Can I just do your feet for a moment and get that point? Let's see if we can get things moving for you. Most of the time they'll say, yeah, that's really cool. I call it the fart button for my boys, and it has activated a few times. Only farts. So what after the colon? That's all I'm going to show you in terms of the internal operations of the body. We're going to do some closing moves. Now, if you're interested in learning a bit more with me, or you want me to do a one-to-one with you guys, I'm more than happy to do that. As what I love doing, and I can do that on video, which is really cool. So, closing moves, as we did with the opening moves with the holds. This is similar, so we're going to do breathing and then holds. With the breathing and the holds, I want you to also roll those shoulders back. I should have said this at the beginning, but I forgot. So we're going to roll them shoulders back, opening yourself up. This time we're going to come a little bit lower on the foot, so right into the middle. And we're just going to lightly push on. Ask them to do those breaths again. Okay, so in, fill up that belly as big as they can. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Make an out. And you can do it with them if they want. If they're too cool for that, get them just to do some nice deep breaths. Slowly pushing the air back out. There comes a point when the kids are like, no. So just adapt it to what you need. Right here, we're holding the solar plexus. This is our center for creativity, fun, and calm. It's what makes us happy. A lot of the time, you might not feel much on this one, but for them, it can feel really amazing, and it can just feel like a warm fuzziness just going through them. If you want to tell them to think of the colour yellow as well, that's really nice. It's a really good colour for them to think about. Think about solar, suns. That's what I kind of associate it with. And then as our final close, we're going to do that heel hold again, but we're going to start up the calf. So we're going to squeeze, 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 come to hold. Feel the difference in their calves. Have the muscles relaxed. Does it feel different? Does it feel the same? It might feel the same, and that's fine. But most of the time, it might feel a bit softer. So just pay attention a little bit to what's changed. So we're squeezing down, squeezing down, squeezing down. Hold, and just take a breath for yourself. Be grateful of what you've just experienced, even if it wasn't quite as calm as what you had hoped. Take a moment just to thank yourself for spending that time with your child, and internally just wishing them a really beautiful night of sleep as well as for yourself. So now I've put together a little map for you guys to follow that with, and I hope that's really, really helpful. I've shown you the superpower touch on the feet, which is amazing, and I really hope that you guys find that helpful. A couple of other things I use and I've mentioned at different points throughout have been eye masks. So, for example, an eye mask. It might help them to feel calm. It might be something that you just use whilst you're doing their feet. Ask them, would you like to try it? And if you want to try one without investing in something too extravagant, I sell elf eyes, which are designed for children. They are self-heating masks. They're really nice. This is an adult version one. So as you can see, they're quite big for adults. The kids' ones are smaller. Go with whatever size your child might need. But we find these really, really lovely. And whilst they only heat up once, my boys tend to use them again and again. They're currently using Hedwig, the owl, eye masks, which they got for Christmas. It's quite funny when you walk in on them when they're asleep, to be fair. Just got these big fluffy owl eyes looking at you. What else did I mention? I mentioned the magnesium cream. So this is what we use. This is Sweet Bee Organics. Go into focus. There we go. It's an amazing company. The ethos behind how she set it up is really, really cool as well. It's all organic, which is something I strongly believe in because I feel that that's the best we can give to our children. It's not going to be contaminant and harmful. This is a lavender one, which smells beautiful. And it's like it's a brand new one I've got, but it's like a balm. Can it show? It's not going to show in focus. It's like a balm, so it's a bit oily. It's really nice to work with on the feet, to be honest. It smells so good. What else do I use? I mentioned the Neil Yard eucalyptus salve, and you can see how it's quite. Oh, it's not much in there. You can see how it's quite similar. You can see how often I use it. This is a really good one. If they're sniffly as well, I put it up on their chest as well as on their toes. On their pillows and on my pillow, I use this a lot, which is a Neil Yard pillow spray. Smells divine. So good. I get such a great night's sleep, so I'm using this quite a lot at the minute because we're all a bit sleep deprived. Nightmare season. We've been listening to Harry Potter before bed, which I've realised is not helping. So think about what you're putting on before bed. We also use this, which I've done a video of me putting into the bath, and I realised it was pretty much empty, so not much came out. It smells really nice. Do not use if you're pregnant. It's got clary sage in it, which is really good for ripening the cervix. Unless you're wanting to go into labour, do not use it. This, I believe, is safe. In case you are pregnant. Go into focus. There we go. Nighttime relaxing aromatherapy oils. So this is a brand new one. I haven't opened it yet. I haven't needed this in a while, to be honest, because I use the pillow spray, but I used to use this quite a lot when they were a wee bit younger. The little aromatherapy oil, you could put it in a diffuser whilst you're getting ready for bed. I would turn it off overnight. Don't have it running overnight in case it runs out of water. But you could burn it as well before bed, and then obviously blow out the candle. That could be quite a nice little bedtime ritual, but you do have it burning and then to blow it out. The bath foam that I showed you, they do a version of it as a cream or like a lotion. They do both, like a body butter and a lotion. Body butter is lovely. My boys use the lotion sometimes. And again, that's really nice. I know I've got a client who uses the body butter on her son's shoulders as well as on the feet, and that's just a really nice physical way to get that aromatherapy there. Aromatherapy is really amazing at helping us relax, as is touch, and so she's combining both, which is perfect. I also mentioned music. Get it from wherever you get your music from. Find a sleep playlist. You're wanting soothing sounds, think about spa or white noise. You know, a lot of people after summer find that they really like the fan going on. Find something that replicates that, or a fan if your room is too hot. Solve 2 in 1. And I can put a link through to the playlist that I use as well, if that is something you would like. I hope this has been helpful. Give it a go, give it a whirl. Ask me any questions you need at any point, and let me know how you get on. Thank you.